Fantastic. Okay. Well, everyone, I'm personally glad to be here. I hope you too. It's nice to see, diverse audience. Maybe you've got your own startups, or maybe you're a startup enthusiast. You're more than welcome. We know that as startuppers, it's always a tough journey, right? But you are here. You're breaking the chains of conformity, right? Just because, yeah, it takes courage. It takes a lot of courage to actually start something, trying to add value to activities and then make a difference, follow your dreams, follow a path that's quite different from the norm. So today, we'll be hearing more of that, but in terms of marketing, as you guess, right? Because you've seen the title, Power Up Your Tech Company Growth with Smart Marketing Tactics. So hopefully today, there won't be any fluff, no rubbish. We're gonna be also, that's our aim, right? Trying to provide information that you can't necessarily find on the chat GPTs, the deep sex, the Geminis, the however you call it, the bots. But we will try to be as, let's say, practical as possible, and hopefully you will enjoy your time. Don't hesitate to take part, ask questions. As I mentioned, it's all for you, right? So the idea is for us not to be just like a monologue, like what I'm doing. Don't do that, right? But the idea is definitely to share knowledge. Okay. So I will introduce today's panel, right, as we go through our discussion. And maybe Tim, you'll be the first person that I'll approach. Tim, guys, if you don't know, and please correct me, Tim, if I'm quite mistaken, is that you're from Middlesbrough, right? So not too far, right in the corner. Tim has got experience in go-to-market strategies, business development. He's been able to build a business of 7 figures, right, in less than 12 months, with no marketing spend. And he's also got like experience in bouncing back from getting robbed by his own business partner, £2 million. So, if you've got also post-grief advice for people in the audience, you can provide that too. My first question to you, Tim, is the following. It's kind of broad, but we're going to get a bit more specific. But today, many startups want to grow, right? That's a fact, in a sustainable way, right? What would you say is your advice in terms of like balancing the fast expansion with long-term success?
I think it's, well, first of all, I'll say thank you for the introduction, Felix, and thank you for joining, guys. Nice to be here. The first thing I would try and think about is when, particularly in a funded business, you're looking for growth. The easy or the natural thing I think to do is to focus on how can I spend money to gain customers. But what I've found has served me well in my career has been, okay, what can I do, or how can I deliver significant value to my customers that makes them come to me? How can I get in front of them in a sustainable, cost-effective way? Spending money on ads and things like that is great and can have a really positive impact. But if you solely rely on that, algorithms are changeable. Adverts don't last forever. You're always looking for the next thing to try and drive customers. And if you've achieved significant growth and then your next campaign isn't quite as successful, it can be disappointing. Your next campaign isn't quite as successful, but you've found a way to drive customers to you, whether it's building a community, partnering with someone who already has your customer base, where you can deliver value to them, whether it's finding a way of showing up where your customer base is going to be. I think there's more to it than I ever thought when I first started out in driving customers in a sustainable way.
Okay, that's a very interesting answer. It's very thorough. Thank you. What's funny nowadays is that there's a lot of ways to get in front of your customers, and the difficulty is, okay, which one do I choose? For instance, you scroll on social media, you see that ad about that company that can transform your world in terms of leads, in terms of like conversion rates, right? So I don't know if you could speak to that to understand, okay, how can I filter and make sure that I'm not overwhelmed with noise, but I choose something that is actually right for my startup. I'm not sure if you've got any comments regarding that, Tim.
Yeah, I think it comes down to really just, everyone always says understand your customers, but really, really understand why are they buying, when are they buying, what's the true pain point that you're solving. Make it significant to them. How can you add value to them so that their perception of you is positive? Like super, super positive. When they think of I need this, they think of you instantly. And it might be a combination of multiple different channels. You know, it might be a case of you've got to show up on SEO, you've got a podcast, little plug for you guys there. I don't, you know, those things can be like super important. Actually, if you're just showing up in once, you're limited. Showing up everywhere, you're spreading yourself potentially too thin. But if you can understand your customer and how you can deliver value to them and where you can deliver value to them, understand where their attention is, you know. And another thing that I always think is important is to try and understand how your customer thinks when they're in a certain place or in a certain way. So if I'm on LinkedIn, I'm in a professional mind frame. If I'm, you know, looking on TikTok on an evening, I probably don't want a social media ad, but other people might, you know.
Sure.
If I use Facebook, I tend to use it for groups, and I tend to use it for reason life. You know, it's understand where your customer is, when they're on it, and what their mindset is as well. So are they a frame of mind to actually buy your product? If you keep sticking a YouTube ad in front of my big video, I'm just going to get annoyed with it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to skip it. So there's it's that customer understand the time, place, and try and maximize that. And it will take a lot of trial and error and testing to work out what works. Discussions with your customer to understand where we come from, what made you buy from us, and keeping those communication lines open as much as possible.
Okay. I think one thing to add to that, Felix, can I just add one thing to that as well?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So like, I think in understanding your customers, like it's an absolutely amazing point, and it's something that like SEO, it's a bit of a, you know, dark world, or what is it? Nobody understands it. But one thing we are really good at is understanding what your customers are looking for. Now, regardless of what your startup is, there will be things that people are searching for that you can solve. So it's getting in their mindset of like understanding what is it that your product or solution is solving, and how would they search for it if they don't know what you are. So like maybe you're a project management tool like monday.com. Well, okay, people might be searching for alternatives to monday.com. Research what it is, start to create content around those solutions, and then, hey presto, you're able to start appearing when people are looking for your solution to their problems.
Amazing, James. And I know I was about to introduce you too. So James actually is, you know, the founder of We Are Directioneers. He's got like tons of experience in terms of like marketing, you know, that started, I think, way back in Newcastle, if I understand correctly, at the home agency. Now he's got his own agency. He provides fractional services in terms of marketing, on-demand marketing specialist, right? And he specializes in SEO, right? So it's definitely the kind of company that's futuristic, because when you look at like, hey, overhead retention, do you necessarily want everything? You know, do you want to take care of everything as a company, as a startup, or do you want also to have that kind of liberty to just focus on your results? So, James, nice that you jumped in, because we're talking about SEO, right? Tim mentioned that there's no actually magic trick. You can't just limit your reach, but you have a specialized skill into SEO online. So what would you say as of today is the what sort of trends people need to be aware of, you know, to capitalize on them in order to basically make a difference, get more traffic, and get more customers?
Absolutely. So one of the main things that I'm focusing on, the business is focusing on this year, is it's always been around the content you produce in SEO, but everyone does that. Everyone as a ballpark produces great content, advice, help for their customers. So it's like, how do you get it to the next level? And the thing that Google, I think, is especially looking for this year and moving forward is like employee driven content or founder driven content. So it's not just or here's top 5 tips on how to use this tool, or top 5 cycling equipment blog, the generic stuff. It's here's how my experience as a cyclist has helped to produce a better product, or to curate this list of great products. That's the stuff that's going to cut through all the noise of the 150 other articles and other search results that you're competing against. It's your unique experience that nobody else can replicate online. And I think when thinking about how your website is structured, and again, going back to what customers are looking for, it's how can you provide that unique experience when there are maybe 5 other people that produce the same sort of thing as you. Okay, so what have you done in your experience that really just cuts through all that noise? That's what I'm looking for this year.
Exceptional.
Add to James after, yeah.
Hey, Isaac, why not? Let's do it.
No, I was saying there's a lot that's being said that just resonates with me. Like the personalization and authentication is literally what I do, and I'm glad I'm hearing people that are resonating with that. That's literally why I exist as a business. So for me, I believe in consistent content and getting ahead of it. So being proactive. Somebody was talking about founder-led kind of information, giving it to the people. I help my clients come and plan for the year ahead. So what I always say to them is, plan your content, talk about either your business, talk about your experiences, and that sort of thing. Add value to your to your audience, and then use that as content moving forward, and that kind of thing. So partly that's kind of where I wanted to add on a little bit, but I'll leave it there for now.
Superb, Isaac. Thank you very much. Anyway, I was again about to ask you a question, but in case you don't know, guys, Isaac, is it Isaac or Isaac?
Isaac.
I actually prefer Isaac anyway. So good. Yeah. So he's the podcast king, as you would have guessed, right? Graduated from Leeds Beckett. Now he lives in Wakefield, if I'm not mistaken. And he's quite prolific. He's done so many good things. He actually very recently won an award at the Wakefield Business Awards night. So everything is just going in the right way for him in terms of podcasting. Now, you mentioned content is important, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for a startup, right, there's so many types of content that they can think of, right? What is the right content to put out there, since we're talking about personalization, but you don't necessarily want to just talk about anything that's personal to you? What, in your experience over the past few months, you've seen as making a difference in terms of the content that people put out there?
So generally, with my business, I target fellow businesses. I target entrepreneurs. So generally, as you can think, it's people that know what they're talking about, either people that are experts in their fields or have experience in their field. So I always say to my clients to talk about what they know best, right? Because that's the best place for you to start, and look at areas of which you can add value to your, to your audience, instead of looking at ways in which you can kind of sell them or market to them or trick them. Figure out ways in which the content that you create helps them with their day-to-day, whether you're giving advice or you're instructing them on things to do. And I always say, for people that have been doing business for a long time, they always have something to talk about. So what we then do is, I always love panels. So I'd ask them is to add other people from different parts of their industry that can also add depth to that conversation, or different people from different parts of the supply chain, and that thing and things like that. Make the conversation really engaging. Then I take that and use that for content. So not just long form content, but we can also use it for shorts and that kind of thing. So I always find that that's the best area to start, especially for layman's. Just talk about what you know, look at the areas of value where you can kind of instruct or advise people, and just take it from there.
It's really interesting what you've touched on, right? Because you mentioned take people, basically have a podcast with people that are in your supply chain. So if what you're saying basically is that if you've got that disruptive technology that's all about AI, what you're saying is that don't just talk about what is it that you do. You're saying try and involve people in the supply chain that have but maybe little or on well, that have something to do with your activity. So, would you have an example, maybe, of a podcast that went well for maybe one of your clients or from what you've seen, so that you can illustrate to us really clearly what that means or how it could look like for anyone that's currently in the audience?
I mean, I've been producing quite a few podcasts recently. The most recent one is with the company called The Alternative Board. So one of the things that they do is they speak to regular businesses, like from different fields. I think our most recent one is they were talking about a family business, right? So had different businesses came on, choosing different topics, and it was quite engaging because that conversation ended up going in different directions about what it means to be in a business that's been around for 100 years. What does that mean to work with your father, for example, or work, with your children or as family members and that kind of thing. So what then happens is you find that the conversation just takes shape in ways that you ordinarily wouldn't you wouldn't expect, and you have different people adding various bits and that kind of thing, and then it ends up making the conversation quite engaging. From that particular example, why I've chosen it is that there's a lot that I ended up resonated with me. I found quite a bit of value in ways that I wouldn't have expected that it would give me value. You'd ordinarily think that if people are coming and they're going to be talking about a family business, something that will end up being boring, but I actually found it to be very interesting because there was a diverse set of experiences, personal experiences, what it means for a business to be around generation after generation, what it takes to lead it and to run it and that sort of thing. So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah.
It does, I guess, because what you're saying is that, hey, this is the business, or in that case, the startup of Go. You talk about it, you use a layer of storytelling, and you actually involve people so that it gets to a level where you've got different perspectives and the conversation becomes more enjoyable. So I guess that could be a key takeaway for all of us in terms of us if you wanted to go down that route. And as a team mentioned, right, we have to have a multi-layered approach. It's not only about trying to find that magic trick, but rather, have those different kind of ways to communicate to our ideal audience slash client. And team, I guess what conjures up, what this conjures up to me is that, hey, there's obviously a lot of ways to use data, to use the different means to get to your goal. And also it can turn sour, right? Things can also not always work. What do you see some entrepreneurs do in your experience, or some startups do, that maybe you've got a story to share, that basically causes a lot of let's say disappointment in terms of the approaches that they have when it comes to growing your startup, maybe too quickly, or maybe just not putting the right investments where they should be.
I think from my point of view, the biggest challenge and the biggest disappointment I see is people think build it and the customers will come. You can build the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, what's the point? The business call, we know this very well because this is what we specialize in. I love podcasts, and I regularly tell people, go make a podcast. The reason is, if you pick up the phone to your number one prospect and you say, hey, can we talk about you buying my product? They're going to go, no. You might not even get through to them. If you pick up the phone and say, hey, would you like to be on a podcast? Take a day. You can raise your profile in the industry by aligning yourself alongside someone else who's already got a high profile in the industry. You can do what some of the biggest podcasts in the world. I mean, in the startup space, 20VC, or even people like Guy CEO, most of what they do is people don't just watch the podcast. Most people watch the golden nuggets, the clips on social media. And Stephen Bartlett's profile has gone through the roof, not because he's some kind of genius, but because he's aligned himself with people who are geniuses in their fields. So the main source of frustration and disappointment I see in people is not taking an innovative approach to trying to raise their profile and get attention for their business. If one person about your business, you've got one potential customer. If a million people know, you've got a million customers. You only need 10. Maybe your product's worth £100,000. But you've got to be intentional and go, well, how can I get in front of those people? So yeah, hopefully that's helpful.
Could I add to Tim quickly? I was saying, use the example of the Diary of CEO. I was going to use that one as well to say that there's no more authentic thing than one's voice. And what people don't understand is that using podcasting is more so brand building, because as well as Stephen Bartlett, the other examples I usually say are like Russell Brand has done it really well. You've got Joe Rogan is another one that's built an absolute powerhouse of a podcast, but all they've done is they've used podcasting as a vehicle in order to be able to really empower and enrich their brands, and then they've parlayed it to do everything else. So it's the same thing that I feel like people can do with their businesses. It's literally, it is your voice, it is your authenticity. You want to show up, as you are. And, if there's anything that I've learned over the past year of running my business, is nothing connects more than your voice and your real self, which is why if you've seen previously compared to what they were doing before, the likes of the Russell Brands, Stephen Bartlett and Joe Rogan, is not only until they were doing their podcast did they become as big as they are, so much so that I'll land it here and say Stephen Bartlett has launched an entire studio past that called Flight Studio, which has other people that are also putting their voices out there, and then he's gone on to be on Dragon's Den and other things. But it just shows you the power of voice and the power of leading, even as a founder, like founder-led businesses and things like that, talking about the things that you do or talking about your expertise and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to add on to that, Tim. But yeah.
But like, how many people think they really love Stephen Bartlett? They've never even listened to a photo. They've just seen the highlights, and they're like, and they've got this perception.
There you go.
Which is great for him.
Yeah.
I think one thing for me to add to that as well, Felix, I felt left out there. So I think
I would have brought you back anyway, because I had a good question for you.
No worries. Yeah. To add to that, just one final point. I think it's it touches on one of the questions that Kenneth's asked there. So like, it's not just about getting your brand and your voice out there, but it's like building a tribe of people that will market for you as well. So my business is working with a lot of freelancers and consultants to partner and to do bigger projects for other clients, and they're in different industries and stuff like that. But the way that the word of my business has got out is through those partners. So because they buy into what it is that we're trying to do here to do great work with clients and work not just in SEO, but in other shoulder niches as well, they talk about my business when they're talking to potential clients, just because it's something interesting and fun to say. If you can find a way to build that through connections within your industry and people that are almost like cheerleaders for you, then that's a fantastic way to organically grow your business without a penny's marketing spend. And like, to answer Kenneth's question on how you find those people, I found it was getting out there and saying hi and getting a coffee in and having those awkward, can I talk to you about this, please? Not selling. I just want to talk to you about this, because they're not your end customer. They're the friends of your end customer. So tell them about it, get them excited about what it is that your product or service does. And that might then lead to other conversations down the line as your sort of network grows.
James, I call them advocates. I know you use a different word. To add on to the question that was asked, I found LinkedIn to be just an absolutely phenomenal place, as well as physical networking. So when you say go look Eventbrite and other places, find out where events are going on. And what you say, sometimes it might be awkward. Some of them will be great. Others may not be so great. But that's how I met Felix, actually, from going to networking events. And in doing that, Tim mentioned earlier, it's much easier to invite somebody onto a podcast than it is for you to invite them, for a coffee or a one-to-one. However, I found myself, I've done it so much, I've become used to doing one-to-ones. I'll either do it virtually or I'll do I love them, because the majority of clients I've ended up working with have come from one-to-ones where there's what you said again, James, no expectation or anything like that, but with just a notion of wanting to get to know them, wanted to tell them about what I do. I wanted to show them the value of what I do, but it's also doing that through brand, as you guys can see, and then creating that excitement on LinkedIn, being personable and learning to show up as you are, like show up authentically as yourself, and encourage other people as well to introduce you or to talk about what it is that you do. So as we mentioned, create advocates and that sort of thing. And yeah, LinkedIn, local networking would be my recommendations. But yeah.
Loving it. Advocates, referral partners, cheerleaders, call them however you want, but they act on your behalf, whilst you're not necessarily actively looking for something. Well, the machine is on, right? Working for you. Hey guys, just a quick pause because we've got around about like 20 minutes left. I just want to check with the audience. Are we bored? Are we learning something? What are some of the things that maybe you feel like we should address? Don't hesitate. Thank Kenneth for getting involved. But I just want to make sure that before I ask my question to James, that we are all kind of enjoying ourselves, right? Because there's nothing worse than wasting time, especially at this time of the day, whereby, on Monday morning, there's so many things that we can think of, right? So, hey, morning, did I say morning? Monday mornings, Monday evenings, right? Fair enough. So, James, right? So yes, again, marketing tactics, finding our customers, etc. It is good to go with authenticity. It's a long game. Conversations get you to the desired goal. But there's something that we don't want to be left behind by is artificial intelligence, right? Because it sounds like AI is not necessarily the solution, but it's like it's part of the solution to solve your problems. So I know that in the SEO world, there's something that's growing. There's a trend that's kind of growing, which is related to voice or SEO voicing. I'm not sure if you've got much information about it, but if you want to educate us regarding this, that would be, first of all, amazing, and maybe give us concrete tips about like how to go about it if it's worth it.
Absolutely, yeah. I've actually got a wonderful example of where voice hasn't worked out. So voice search has been around since like maybe 2016. You remember when those assistants came out, the big bulky Google ones, and you could press a button and it would say, "Hey, what can I help you with?" And then it would give you a voice answer. Well, I was at an agency when that sort of started, and we were like, there's an opportunity here in the SEO world. Like we can create a service that's especially for helping clients to curate content that helps them rank for popular searches people are making. So putting a load of effort, a load of research, and like trying to consistently understand, okay, the voice search gives this answer, but when you Google the same thing, it gives this different answer. Why? What is the difference between the two? Is there much of a difference? So spent a long time trying to figure out the tech behind it. It's a black box. You can't really see what goes on inside it, unfortunately. And it turns out that at the time, so 2016, 2017, there wasn't really that much difference between what ranked top for voice and what ranked top for Google. And it kind of meant that the service that we were trying to develop didn't really go anywhere, in all honesty. So that's definitely a lesson is don't get too far ahead of the tech, but it has been 6-7 years now, I think, since we were at that. And the way that people search has become so much more conversational because of the voice assistants like Siri and like Hey Google and I can't remember the Samsung one. Was that called Bixby or something like that? Maybe.
Not sure.
Yeah, but so actually the way that the research that we can see when we're looking at what people are searching for, the amount of words that people use is getting longer and longer. That has an impact on how you package your content on your website as well, because whether it's voice or typed search, Google needs to be able to match a relevant result with the relevant search term. So whether you want to rank for voice in 2025 or whether you want to rank just organically for search, the tactics are exactly the same, but you need to show authority, expertise, and trust around your whole brand so that Google picks you to rank top. And you've got to remember, it's those sort of expertise, authority, and trust against all your competitors. So to get that voice result, there's only one result in voice, where there's at least 10 organic ones in typed search. You've got to be the best result for the search term that you want. So I don't know if there's too much advice there, but I would say your organic strategy and voice strategy will be the same no matter what it is you're trying to rank for.
Right. And you touched on that. Do you believe that then is it a case of like being like or getting that first mover advantage, as they call it? I can't remember the exact terminology. That could get you ahead, since it sounds, by the sound of it, it's not necessarily something that has got a lot of adoption.
No, I think you could. I think when you're trying to rank for certain things that your customers are searching for, being first is great because Google only has a few options to rank, so it'll rank you if you've got the most relevant result. But also having the most unique and richest experience when someone lands on your page, even if you're the smallest site in the world and you're going up against, I don't know, IKEA or YouTube or something, like, you can still rank well even if you are tiny, because you've got the most relevant result and the most unique expertise on the subject. Then, like, that, I think that's one key thing to say in the SEO world. It can be tough, but if you've got that absolutely right, no matter what size you are, you can rank well and you can get customers through organic.
Okay, that's reassuring to hear. And Tim, maybe I don't know if you had something to add regarding this, but I also had a question, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everything we're discussing on this call, it's no silver bullet. It's not like this will get you customers tomorrow. It's long-term strategy. It's like SEO is an excellent tool, but like you say, you've got to put the work in to make it work, and you've got to truly understand your customers. Like, who's the buyer and who's the influencer as well sometimes. So you talked a little bit at the beginning about Monday.com. Monday.com, you might have a team who really want it, but actually the decision maker is someone else. So then you've got to curate content to, okay, what do the team want to see? And okay, then the CFO is going to Google it. What do they want to see? Like a guide to Monday.com for CFOs, and like, but it's super interesting because the success of a business is ultimately long-term sustainability, and podcasts is not I'm going to release one podcast and go viral tomorrow. And SEO is the same. It's not I'm going to write one article and I'm going to change the world tomorrow. It's like sustainable, which I think is the key to any startup being successful. Sustainable long-term strategies.
Indeed.
Sorry,
and I guess go ahead, James.
Sorry,
James.
I was going to add to Tim very quickly to say that's a conversation that I have to have with my clients regularly about the long-term sustainability. They come to me and they ask me, well, are you going to make me viral? Are you going to get us numbers? I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You have to show up, right? Even I have to show up. And that's how I came here today. I was a bit nervous about this whole thing, but I was like, I need to start showing up, as a brand, putting my face out there, speaking to people. I think James touched on it, connecting authentically. Connecting authentically with people doesn't happen through a viral clip. It happens over time. So now when I speak to people, I ask them, are we signing up for 6 months? Or are we doing 12 months? In that showing up, it may be in the 12 months that you in putting out content, you might have one small reel that catches fire to lead people to the longer term content. But I was saying in this year, there's no substitute to showing up, regardless of you're famous, you've got money, you've got budget, you've got the best show in the world, you still have to show up. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it, right? People don't want to be, when it comes to the buying experience, being forced, basically the hardcore sales era, as I think officially ended. Not that, cold calls don't work, but you need to niche down as much as possible. You need to be the expert in your area. and then you need to show up, as Isaac mentioned, until people feel comfortable with you, and eventually they'll buy from you. But it's probably from day one, when you started making content and educating them, that they already bought from you, just because they are subscribers, right? Nothing new under the sun in terms of what I've just said. It's important to make sure that you put the right information on socials, and also, via your email campaigns, because by far emails are still one of the most effective ways to get to your customers, and if you're talking about what they care, then you will see also good conversion rates. I'm not sure if anyone has got anything to add to this, but that's just my experience. Okay, so do we have any questions from the panel? Right, I'm just conscious of time, and from the panel and the audience, right? Just conscious of time, and I know that it's obviously a meeting that was meant to answer some of the most immediate questions that startups have. So again, if you are in that journey and you're wondering how you should go about your marketing, maybe the time is now, right? To ask your question. Yeah.
Can I ask a question myself? Hi guys, my name is Mohammed Anjum. So yeah, I started a new tech company, and providing the IT services, basically doing the digital transformation. I probably like 17 years of experience working in the UK for private sector as well as the public sector. But I'm finding a difficulty. I mean, I've been working as a contractor on my own, but since I started my company, and I only got like one project so far from my network of friends. But I'm trying to I'm doing the LinkedIn marketing. I've got a team contracted with, and who are doing that. But I mean, finding a business, and it feels like it's very hard. I'm just looking some advice on that, really. I've got my website. I've got LinkedIn, and we do the LinkedIn postings, and we tried on the the contractsfinder.gov.uk too, but that again is going to the procurement of the government project. But I think that's whereas I'm sort of lacking. I think probably I need some training on that, how to bid on a tender and look for a tender, etc. But so just really some advice. I mean, for a tech startup, what would you guys suggest for me? What should I do?
I can talk government contracts if that's helpful.
Sorry?
So I can talk government contracts if that's helpful. So my previous company was a government procurement technology-based business. I've been writing consultant for probably close to 15 years. Government contracts is not a quick fix. It's a complicated process, but once you understand the process, the time, effort you put in, and the rewards can be significant if you can win high value long-term contracts. The key thing to success in government contracts is picking the right opportunity, making sure that you're not going, that's sort of us, like pick some, even if you have to wait like 6 months, 12 months, 2 years to find the right opportunities. Finding the right opportunities is the key to the success. But I'd happily talk to you a little bit more offline about the strategies and how you understand what is a good fit, because there's certain rules around contract sizes and that kind of thing, which are kind of unwritten rules because there's not a lot of information out there, but would be happy to talk to you a little bit more about that.
Right, cool. That's fine. So should I ping my LinkedIn in that chat there, so maybe we can connect on that?
Feel free.
Yeah,
Feel free.
I won't bore everyone with the ins and outs of government procurement. You'll all be well off to sleep in the next 15 minutes.
Right, okay.
I think one thing that I'll add to that, Mohammed, is I think I'm still in the same boat as you, trying to win clients, trying to find clients. If you're a digital sort of tech company, one thing that we found that helps get conversations starting is providing a bit of a report or a bit of a an analysis on a little a niche, 5 or 6 different similar companies, try and pick up some key stats of how they're performing or how their competitors are doing better than them in a channel that you might look at or something like that, and just send the report and say, oh, we've produced this report because 1, we love your business, and 2, we'd like to have a chat with you. I find that opens the door just ever so slightly more than a cold outreach on LinkedIn to say, hey, can we pitch for some work? I definitely think that might be something to try.
That's fine. Cool. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
I was gonna
Mohammed.
quickly add as well. There's a lady that I follow on LinkedIn. She was on Dragon's Den. I think she's called Letty. She owns Mayo Master, and one of the things that she stated was it's a numbers game as well. So never look down on the fact that you do have to kind of outreach quite a bit, and you might get some rejection here and there, but you have to keep trying. But then obviously with the way James explained it, that's like a smart approach to go about it where you're doing that. Might have to do that quite a bit of times and that kind of thing. She put a statement where she said she'd been rejected over 1,000 times trying to find a business partner. I was like, whoa, I'd have probably give it up with the 5th time. But so that one, there's power in numbers and there's power in kind of reputation as repeating also.
Right.
I'd add, yeah.
Thank you. That's fine. Thank you.
Superb. Any other questions for tonight, guys? For our amazing panel of experts. Right. Tumbleweed. So I believe that we are done. It's been, to me, I've enjoyed the discussion. I hope that the audience too. It's been recorded, so you'll see it on the YouTube Startup Ground page, and since you've registered, you will receive the link regarding this. So thank you ever so much for your time. Thank you, team. It was good to hear about your expertise and the fact that there's no silver bullet at the end. If you wanted to come in the call and get that magic wand that will bring you business, well, actually, it will take education, it will take work. As James emphasized, it's a lot has to do with authenticity, transparency, your presence on social media. And Isaac mentioned that also it's a numbers game, right? So get your socials right. And what's quite interesting is also it reminds me of Earl Nightingale, which is like an American radio speaker that's passed now, and he said something that's still valid today. He mentioned that if you want to be an expert in your area, just work 90 days. Study what is it that you need to know and then spread your knowledge. And I think that is pretty much valid years later. So guys, thank you very much again for your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next edition. Thanks a lot. Have a wonderful evening. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks everyone.
Guys.
Thank you.
Those good feelings. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye. Bye.